Welcome to the program. I had someone call that's viewing my programs and told me, said, you should tell the folks about the organ in Dallas. Well, that was back in the 60s, and my wife and I had gone to Dallas, Texas to build a church. Well, the Lord was good to us, and we acquired a piece of property, and then there was an opportunity to build a church and on it, and everything was real nice. It was a A-frame type church, and it was thought of as very modern for its day. And we were so proud of everything, and we were getting ready to have our first revival. Well, I invited Brother Kenneth Phillips and Wanda to come and preach a revival for us. And Kenneth was having a lot of success in revivals across the country. And Wanda was one of the greatest organ players. Of course, she sang beautifully. And but we did not have an organ. We had bought a new piano. It was rather plain, but it was a little less than $500. And of course, $500 was a lot at that time. Well, for the revival, I wanted an organ because I wanted everybody to hear Wanda play the organ. So one day I went over to Arnold and Morgan. That was one of the largest music stores in that part of the country. And of course it was a very spacious store. I walk in, and a very nice man said, "How can I help you?" And I said, well, I would like to rent an organ for a revival that we're beginning. I'd like to rent one. And the man said, well, we don't have any used organs. We don't have any to rent. Let me sell you one. And I said, no, I can't, we can't afford to buy one. And then they had some very beautiful organs. And so the man said to me, he said, well, what would you say if I just gave you one? I said, I would be one of the most, I said, I'd be one of the most unthankful people in Dallas if I didn't say thank you. Well, he said, now here's one. And it was beautiful. He said, we'll deliver it out to you. But do you want one in the crate, or do you want one that's been taken out of the crate? I said, why don't I leave that decision up to you? He said, okay, we'll deliver it this afternoon by 2 or 3 o'clock. Well, right on the time they brought the organ out, they handed me the bill, almost $1,500, and it was written across it, donation. We were so thankful for it, and we were thankful to the fact that we knew God was working with us, and it was a good day. Well, Brother R.E. Johnson, there's still folks, I'm sure, that remembers Brother R.E. Johnson. He preached camp meetings all over the country. He moved into Richardson, that was right next door to Dallas, and took the church there. Well, it come time for him to need an instrument of some nature, and he knew that the Arnold Morgan had donated us an organ, and I'm sure he was going to cash in on it, especially knowing R.E. And he went down and said to Mr. Arnold or Morgan, I don't know which one it was, he said, would you folks happen to remember donating Brother Marler and his church an organ? The man became very sober, and he said, Reverend, come go back to the office with me. He went back to the office, and the man went behind his desk and put his head down a little while. When he raised up his head, he had tears. And he said, he pointed out the window behind his desk. He said, do you see that parking space right there? I said, yes. He said, that's the space that Brother Marler drove into the day, and I was looking out the window. And when he drove up and got out, he said, I don't count myself a real spiritual man. But he said, something spoke to me and said, whatever that man asked for, give it to him. And well, I got to tell you all something. Ever since Brother Johnson told me about that incident and what that man said, that's done something for me. Because every time I get in some kind of a problem or difficulty, and I need encouragement, I get it. Because there's something about the fact that God knows when I get out of my car and walk in somewhere. He knows when I lay down, and He knows when I get up. He knows my needs before I ask. There's just something about it to know that God in heaven looks down and keeps track of you. Thank you.